occupation! Not for war and occupation!
You can't confront any democratic question in this society, in Britain today, without remembering how the first people, the levellers, confronted the questions of democracy in their age, and they have an enormous amount to say to us today. The Chartists have an enormous amount to say to us today about how trade unions organise, about what working class emancipation looks like. So these are all things which are absolutely central to any radical project today.
We're doing a recreation of the Peasants' Revolt of 1381, when the men of Kent had stormed into London. There was about 30,000 from Kent and about 60,000 from Essex. And this particular recreation we're doing is the sacking of Savoy House. And the peasants came looking for the 6 most hated men in England, and they came to take their heads off.
Hidden history. We've forgotten about these things, how the country was formed, and how we can, by taking up arms and standing up for ourselves, is the only way we're going to get anything.
Let's see full teeth. No, the whole thing. And now bring it down.
I relate to being an armed peasant. I'm ready to be armed again in the fight for peasants' rights.
The aristocracy are back in charge, aren't they? So, you know, it's got to happen, really, I think.
We've ransacked London. We've committed outrages against the ruling class, and we know there's no going back for us.
We wish to shine a little photographic light on these great matters of struggle to establish freedom and democracy in this country that are hidden away. People don't know about these things. Yes, teeth. Come on!
Red contacted me about 4 years ago. I thought the guy's mad, but okay. And obviously once you've met Red, his passion and his enthusiasm, you just have to work for him.
We didn't really know anything about before Red came to talk to us, so it's great to be involved and kind of go along with the process, really.
I'm an old peasant and I've joined in this rabble, but I'm a little bit concerned about actually that they're getting a little bit carried away with themselves.
I'm the butcher. I'll chop the heads off of the Archbishop, I believe.
I was involved in a decapitation, and I'm about to distress my wife. She's very heavily pregnant.
I'm like another person.
Yeah. I'm always looking at these 15th century Dutch paintings. There's a painting of a young boy and his pregnant lover, and it's just a lovely painting, and I thought that really helps typify what would happen when the world's turned upside down. He's supporting the Peasants' Revolt because the barons could come and say, I want your wife tonight, I'll do with her what I want, you know. And he's going, no, but then suddenly, bloody all hell's broken loose, and his girl is pregnant. This one is very ambitious because it's an enormous, bloody period in British history. So we wanted to turn it into a real Gothic epic. They're called hedgerow priests because they were banned from all churches. John Ball, he was the hedgerow priest, he was the agitator for the Peasants' Revolt. When the Peasants' Revolt started, the men of Kent went into Maidstone and they ransacked Maidstone, took Maidstone, and they went straight to the prison where John Ball was in prison, and they released him. He was the spokesperson for the Peasants' Revolt because he'd been going around the country for years beforehand agitating for social justice, for rights for ordinary people. I mean, his great slogans were, when Adam delved and Eve span, who then was the gentleman? This is 1380. Things will not go well in England till all is held in common, because you've all been starving. It's 40 years after the Black Plague. The barons take everything. They take your life, they take your wife, they take anything you want. And this is the beginnings of the rebellion.
Yeah, John Ball gets hand drawn and quartered later on. It's not a good gig.
Squeeze in. So you're with the legendary John Ball, who's walked the country, and you're very proud, and you believe in the cause.
The Archbishop of Canterbury really took against the sort of sermons that I was preaching in my church, and he said that I couldn't have a church anymore. So he threw me out of my church, and I started preaching in hedgerows and fields and in village greens, that sort of thing. And then he threw me to prison because not only could I not have a church, but he didn't want me to say the things I was saying.
Boy can stay up. Lovely, very good. Well done, kid. Go. Little boy, that's it. Little boy, stand up. Lovely. Look at the camera. Don't look at the camera. Andy, off you go. Okay, hold on, sorry, hold on.
I might be a musician, but I will kill the two.
Yes, oh yeah. Show the foreground and the people. 1 hour, 20 minutes of light. Because we're on a shoestring budget, we didn't really have the resources to get as many people to be peasants as we'd like to have been. What we're doing now is to fill these gaps that were left in Dorset. So there's people to the left, people in the centre looking over their shoulders, people to the right looking at John Bull, and people in the background.
I think I'm one of the peasants who comes to listen to John Bull. So I think I'm somewhere behind him up on a hillside. Disabled person in the back. I take every opportunity to try and make sure that disabled people are represented exactly in the way that they should be, Yeah, it definitely feels a bit weird. It feels like someone's clamped the bottom half of my face shut or something.
Bruegel was a great painter of everyday peasant life. I think one of the very earliest people to do that, to show the harshness of ordinary life. And in many of his pictures there are people with severe disabilities. And I thought, well, I should do that because, disabled people are invisible in our society. Here we are, this government's cutting all sorts of services for disabled people. So I thought that was very relevant, to get them in the pictures.
You're looking that way and down or up?
3, here we go. Interested? Right, expressions up. Andy? That's it, lovely. Got them all. Back on you this side. Can you give your wax papers to Bobby? Yes. What we're doing today is Mary Wollstonecraft and the Newington Green Dissenters of 1792. Mary Wollstonecraft is another great figure hidden from history. She's the mother of British feminism. And she wrote a book called A Vindication of the Rights of Women. And she was a supporter of the French and the American Revolution, and she said that why shouldn't women participate in the world, and why shouldn't women have education, and why shouldn't women learn about things, and why do young girls have to be under the yoke of their fathers? And of course she was the mother of Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein. And people know about kings and queens and Lady Diana and everything. They don't know about Mary Wollstonecraft that put the first foundations down for the rights of women. Of course, Mary's book was absolutely central 100 years later to the struggle of the suffragettes. We have a character from that time, the Reverend Richard Price, who was a nonconformist minister. So we've got him and Mary and a group of nonconformists.
Priest, is he?
Yeah.
He's a priest, yeah. But at least I'm not covered in blood this time.
Very good, very good, very good. Well done, everybody.
This totally changed my perception of the political landscape, really, and how we, as black people, were hidden from history. William Coffey led me on to Frederick Douglass, other slaves of that era. I did feel empowered with inspiration to gather people and make a change.
I'm this man here with the wonderful hat, seeing William Coffey and reminding everybody that the great labour movement in London was led by a black man, an ex-slave, is really worthwhile.
Very good. Very different. Something that I've never done before. It's a lot better than how I imagined it, to be quite honest.
I think they're very powerful photographs and very beautiful.
Seeing those people's faces in there, I feel like I'm in it as well. It's incredibly immediate to me. I find them really, really moving, incredibly moving. And it makes you want to kind of go back over it, find out that little bit more perhaps that you didn't know. They're just gobsmackingly gorgeous. The colours and everything in them, sumptuous, sumptuous.
They're about the history of dissent and the history of ideas and how
people can empower themselves.
It looks amazing, absolutely incredible. I love the darkness of it all.
It's almost a chance to be part of something that I would hope to be part of if I was younger now.
When we very first had the images at Impressions Gallery in Bradford, and they printed them 6 meters big, that was really my kind of dream size that I wanted things to be. I wanted them to be a mixture of a tapestry and a trade union banner. I wanted to take the images, the tableaus, out of the gallery and onto the street, and by gosh, we certainly did it today. I mean, I'm absolutely quite overwhelmed at the response.
It's delightful.
May I declare that in many marches I've been on, these two banners are probably the most beautiful I've seen on any of them.
I saw these pictures in Bradford at the gallery. They're brilliant, but it also, when I found out it was Red Saunders who'd taken the photos, like I remember Rock Against Racism and, like, you know, nearly 40 years ago. Sorry.
I turned around and I went, oh, I've seen that painting, and I just spoke to a lady there, and she said, yeah, Red, the artist, is over here. That's absolutely amazing.
Brilliant, thank you.
Being an artist on the left, I then started to go, well, you know, look at the history of trade union banners and how wonderful they are. And now with the huge change on the left and the fact that socialism can even begin to be talked about, and the interest in the Labour movement for a proper opposition to the Tories, we just had to come up here on this demo. It was just a wonderful day. I mean, really interesting response. And they've done everything I would hope they would do. And the feedback we got and the interest, I'm just knocked out.